Walter Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
What's the matter with that cat there?
Must be full of reefer.
Full of reefer?
Yeah, man.
Mean that cat's high?
Sailing.
Sailing?
Lightly.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters. It's October the 15th and we are your audio digest of Canadian and international cannabis news. This week, Kim Cooper and myself, Al Graham, are at the news desk as we talk about and discuss the news that came out during the previous week. Hello, Kim.
Hey, Al. How you doing this week?
Well, the last 24 hours have been rough, but I'm hoping that I've turned the page.
Yes, important for everybody to remember. We are all patients first, and I'm sorry to hear you've had a rough way to go the last couple of days, my friend. Crohn's disease, not a fun thing to live with.
No, it's not. Like any other person who's dealing with any, medical condition. Yeah, it's never easy. And, sometimes you don't know it's there, and then all of a sudden it just clamps right hold of you and can put you right down. So.
That's it. We're all
That's where I was yesterday.
We're all dealing with our shit, right, in the end. And
literally.
The common denominator for all of us is cannabis helps us. And man, the word seems to be getting out because the news, holy cow.
Oh, boy, I couldn't believe it. I had so many tabs open. I was wondering if my computer was going to spit any more out. But we had to pick some stuff. And...
Yeah, we had to let some stuff go because there's just not enough time.
No, there isn't. The show's only, started out as an hour-long program, but now we run for an hour and a half. So
yeah, it gets longer every week. So we should get at it because this week is no exception. A lot to discuss. And we're going to start off right here at home in Canada.
That's right. The government of Canada has made an announcement. They have said cannabis for medical purposes under the Cannabis Act information and improvements notice that they have sent out on their website.
Yeah, there's a brand new act. It comes in effect, as we all know, October the 17th. But some things that people may not be aware of is the access to cannabis for medical purposes. The current ACMPR that is in effect for patients are also covered by this new act. So some things do change.
Yeah. It says here, right here, the Cannabis Act comes in force on October the 17th. At that time, new regulations will replace the access for cannabis for medical purposes regulations, the ACMPR. But there are some changes that are listed here to improve patient access.
Yeah, the changes are pretty good improvements. As a patient, I can speak to that as well as yourself, Al. Not really disappointed with most of the stuff that I'm reading in here. We've got some advance rights now that non-patients are also have.
Yes, that's right. Well, obviously they'll be able to purchase it from a store, the same as the recreational people will be getting it once it's legalized. So that, that does help for access.
Yeah, for sure. People that are under the cannabis for ACMPR currently, some of the things that are going to change for us is that we'll be able to transfer our medical documents from one licensed producer to another without the hassle of going back to the doctor for a new document, which is a big thing for a lot of patients.
Yeah, I haven't had to deal with that issue myself, but yeah, I've read the complaints online about, people having to do that. So
yeah, a lot of issues with that. Every time you wanted to change an LP, if you're using an LP supply, patients had to go and get a brand new medical document from the doctor and have it sent to the new LP. Really big change there. So we can transfer it from one LP to another. You can get a copy of your medical document from the licensed producer you are registered with, which we couldn't do before either. So that's a huge effective change that's happening for us in the LP system. And we also are able to have a hold amount at home. Our storage amount has increased.
Oh, it's just increased substantially. We'll get to that in a second. I notice here on this thing about a 30-day limit. I don't know. I didn't know about this. A 30-day limit. If you're switching from LP to LP, you had to wait 30 days?
No, we didn't before. So this is I don't understand what they mean there. I've switched LPs and I didn't have to wait 30 days. But I mean, when I switched my LP, I placed my order, and then I didn't need it again until my next order until next month. So was there a 30-day hold there? Maybe there wasn't. I didn't even know it. Could be.
Yeah, because it says removal of the 30-day limitation period for buying cannabis from a federal licensed seller. And I'm thinking, and then they're doing that to ensure they're breaking the patient's supply.
Yeah, to make sure that you're not double ordering. So I switched it from there, and now I can reorder my full 30 days from this new one. I guess that was the thought process behind that. When I switched my LP, I never noticed it because I did place a full month's order. I switched my LP, and then the next month I placed my full month's order, and it was fine. But by then, 30 days had passed, as I said. So maybe I just didn't even notice the fact that that was there.
Yeah. And I wanted to touch on that while we're still talking about the LP end of things. This is why I brought it back up and stopped you on this other part. Because for a person who grows for themselves, changes, like you said, storage.
Yeah, storage. I mean, we had some pretty strict storage limits on what we could grow. So if you wind up with enormous plants and you had too much cannabis at the end of it and you couldn't store it and it was over your legal limit, we actually had to give it away and stuff because it's like, oh no, I'm over my limit. I can't have this, right? You're getting rid of cannabis because you're over your limit. There are no limits for recreational users. You can purchase and store as much cannabis as your little heart desires. So it's good to see that has trickled over into the medical community. Now we can do the same. There are no storage limits for in your home.
So that means that number that is on that pink piece of paper you got hanging up in your room, that means that is now eliminated and you have unlimited storage.
Unlimited storage. And your carry amount for when you're out and about is the same. You're basically 30-day supply of your legally prescribed medication is what you're allowed to carry, but you're also allowed to carry your legal carry amount for a non-patient on top of that. So that's good to see that that's not rolled in because a lot of people were questioning that. Okay, well, this is my med, but this is my rec. So can I have both? The answer to that is clearly yes.
Yes, exactly. It's good to see it all in writing because, that's where it's important because some people like just to say something and they got nothing to back it. And, now we got this notice here right from the government saying that. Now, some people have probably wondered, what happens with the current ACMPR and things change in the Cannabis Act. Do I need to reapply? Do I need to do something different here?
Yeah, they've addressed that as well. If you've got an upcoming prescription renewal, they ask you that you re-register and you will be registered under the new system. If your renewal is far in advance from this date, you just carry on like normal. You're basically rolled into the new system and you will get your new forms when your renewal comes due.
Yeah, and they remind you to do that 8 weeks in advance before it expires.
Yes, 8 weeks in advance. Now, anybody that's registered under the LP system that is not normally grown from themselves, this to me is a bit of an increase. We didn't really have to put our paperwork in 8 weeks in advance if we didn't have our right to grow. If we were just renewing it with our LP and ordering from an LP as normal, I've done it in as little as 2 weeks in advance of my prescription running out, and I never had an interruption in flow of my prescribed medicines coming to my door. So this is a bit of an increase and a heads up to anybody that uses strictly the LP system. Make sure you do your renewal in advance.
Yeah, exactly. They also mentioned here other improvements include things such as the Canadian Institute of Health Research is investing significantly in research on cannabis and cannabinoids, including but not limited to research related to use for medical purposes.
Yeah, so they're going on about research and stuff that they're doing in the future. They're going to be tracking trends and use patterns and individuals that use cannabis for medical purposes, what the impacts on those individuals are. So they plan on using some of the monies and the dollars that is going to be benefited from the government from taxation, I guess, to do some research in the future.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So that's good. It's good. Good stuff in there.
Good stuff in there. So many questions for patients answered at that document. And you can find that at the Government of Canada, newly released today, telling us exactly where everyone stands.
We give you the website address, but it's pretty long. But it's at Canada. Yeah, Canada.ca is a good spot to get started.
That's for sure.
All right. Talking about the government, I see Mr. Trudeau, our Prime Minister, has an issue with the provincial government in Quebec over their plans to raise the age.
Yeah, he says you can't do it. Basically, drinking age in Quebec is 18, but the Quebec government has decided to make the cannabis use regulation at the age of 21. He says it's not going to work, and they're going to be in for some trouble.
Yeah, well, they talked about this way back when this all started, because they were concerned was that age group between 18 and 25, and even 21 for this matter. If they weren't getting legal access, they were still going to continue to get access through the black market.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Trudeau's whole stand on this was to protect the children, education, and eliminate the black market. Quebec's stand and their approach on legalization is doing everything in complete contrast and opposite to the end means that Trudeau is looking to get out of legalization. So he's going against everything that Trudeau mandated and wanted out of the legalization bill in Quebec, and it's gonna lead to problems in that province for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And Trudeau himself, he believes the age should be 18, which is even less than what we have here in Ontario, or being ours is at 19. But yeah, 21. People are still going to access their cannabis. It doesn't matter whether it's...
No. You can't allow somebody in that province, they're 18 years old, they can go into a bar, or, I mean, I know a lot of Northern Ontario kids, they turn 18 and they head over the border to Quebec to go to the strip joint.
Yeah.
Because when you're 18, you can get into the bar and you can see the strippers and you can party hardy for your 18th birthday. So we're going to have that in contrast with kids coming over the border from Quebec into Ontario when they're 19 to access the cannabis supply. And we'll have a reverse flow of traffic going with the young people. I mean, it's not going to stop them. You can't do it. You can't have a different age. If all other provinces are mandating this under the same pretense as alcohol. So whatever your alcohol limit is to buy alcohol and cigarettes, that's the age that you're allowed to buy cannabis. And that's a reasonable approach. Making it a different age, never going to work.
Doesn't make sense, have it legal at 18 or 19 in that province and then turn around and have it, cannabis at 21.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, Quebec kids...
Do they really think that alcohol doesn't affect the developing brain?
Yeah, no. Well, they can go to the strip joint and drink alcohol at 18, but they smoke a joint.
If they're
until
if they're
year.
keeping that, if they're moving that age to 21 to protect the developing brain, then they got to move the alcohol age to the same.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I would think of that.
You can't scream about one and not recognize the other.
That's right. Okay, we've gone from Quebec. Let's head over to Ontario.
Yeah, Ontario Human Rights Commission is chimed in on legalization and what they will hear and what they won't.
Yes, they are. I'm just waiting for my page to load here, just so you know.
Yeah, it's actually they've addressed some things. I'm kind of happy with the stand on one hand that they address stuff, but I'm not happy that they're making an outright ban on hearing cases about it. But they did make some address some big issues that are on the forefront right now. They're saying that accommodations do not necessarily are you can't be banning cannabis in the workplace if it is medically prescribed.
Correct. Right. You can't. They're protecting the business and saying, okay, you don't want, you got to have rules and all that people can't be there stoned.
That's right.
They have to legally accommodate the medical patient.
That's right. And I'm glad to see them take a stand on this because, I mean, look at all of the industries that we're seeing right now that are taking zero tolerance policies with cannabis. And the Human Rights Commission has come out and said, no, if it's medically prescribed, you cannot do that.
That's right. They're protected under that right. However, there is a law that the government says, you can't smoke indoors. Okay.
Yes.
And that still applies to those medical patients at the workplace.
Absolutely.
So the patient is being forced to go outside to consume the cannabis.
Yes, medicine. They are forced to be going outside. If they are smoking or vaporizing their medicine, they must leave the property. It's an issue for some patients, especially given our climate situation in Canada. 6 to 7 months a year, the climate is not conducive to going outside. So to do these kind of things. So, I mean, problematic. Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm cheering this notification from the Human Rights Commission, but at the same time, I'm a little bit leery. It doesn't go quite far enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it doesn't go quite far enough. But I am glad that they have addressed this. I mean, this has been an issue. Toronto Transit Commission has been talking about, zero tolerance, and we've got this TTC employee that's medically prescribed. So I mean, these issues are coming up in the courts and in challenges already. Many businesses in Northern Ontario, forestry and mining, they're putting up, zero tolerance policies and very low tolerance policies, and they refuse to recognize cannabis as a prescription. So this is a big issue, and it's about time Human Rights Ontario chimed in.
Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be lots of opportunity for them to do that over the next little while.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, now what's Ontario plans come for October the 17th as we move on?
October the 17th for Ontario, we aren't seeing very much of anything. Largest province in the country, chances are our website won't be up and running. So big question is to Mr. Trudeau, you said federal cannabis will be available for all citizens of Canada on October 17th, and provinces that were not ready, that the feds would be picking up the slack on that. So, 2 days away from the launch of these so-called websites in Ontario's isn't running yet. I wonder, where is the feds on that?
I haven't got a clue. We'll have to wait to find out when everybody starts complaining.
Yeah.
But as far as here in Ontario, what's the minimum age? Where can it be used? Where can it work? Where can it be consumed? Where can it not be consumed?
We got really lucky there. Thank God we got somebody that has reasonable cannabis policy under his belt, if nothing else. But, I'm not a Ford lover, but I can't find anything wrong with his cannabis policy for Ontario. I really can't fault the guy. He's doing really, really well with what he's got to work with from the feds. So we've got open policy. I mean, where you can smoke cigarettes, you can consume cannabis.
Yeah.
So life is pretty good.
You'll be 19 or older to buy it,
Yeah.
to use it, possess it, to grow it. We can grow here in our province, unlike some other provinces.
Yeah.
Where it can be used, you can use it obviously in your private residence. That does not include residents that are also workplaces. Okay.
That's right.
Many outdoor public places, such as sidewalks. It even includes the word parks.
Yes. If the park allows smoking, then you can smoke there.
Yeah. Well, there's more to that when you get into the other stuff below in the article where it talks about where you can't use it. And there's like a 20-meter buffer in there.
Yeah.
Away from the playgrounds.
Yeah. But that's the same rule that they have for around buildings.
Yeah. Yeah. You can also consume it in designated guest rooms and hotels and motels.
Yeah. So if it's
residential,
a smoking room,
yeah, that's right. Smoking rooms, as long as they allow that. I'd rather have someone consume cannabis in a hotel room and then rent that room after them versus a tobacco smoker.
yes, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how the hotels approach that, if they will combine them, if they keep them separate and have designated cannabis smoking rooms eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Residential vehicles, boats, such as boats that meet certain criteria, they'll be allowed to use it there as well. But they have to have like sleeping accommodations and cooking facilities.
I think there has to be a captain's cuddy.
As
long as there's a captain's cuddy where the captain is basically segregated from the rest of the boat, then you can do what you want on that boat. That means the captain is away from it, and he's got his separate area, and he is not part of that, then you're good to go. So as long as there's a cuddy area for your captain, then you're allowed.
Exactly. Controlled areas and long-term care homes, certain retirement homes, residential hospices, provincially funded supportive housing.
Yep.
Veterans facilities. They'll be allowed to have like a medicating room, a vented room where patients can go and medicate it.
So these are all things that can be incorporated into some of these homes that don't have existing smoking spaces now, because a lot of them don't have smoking areas. Some do still have designated smoking areas for the residents. I know of a couple that I've been to that have smoking rooms, and they're all ventilated. So they'll just incorporate smoking cannabis into those rooms, I'm sure. But it'll be interesting once again, like the hotel front, will we see these long-term care facilities and veterans facilities adding new rooms on where not necessarily smoking cigarettes may not be allowed, but cannabis will be?
I can see some legions having a vented room for patients that are at the legion, because I know some legions have been very favorable to patients with cannabis when it comes to vaporizing.
Absolutely. I mean, we had our pre-bash party bash there prior to the Smith trial out in Ottawa, and everybody was smoking and vaping at the table in the Legion. I've been to a few events at Legions where we've all been consuming right there in the rooms.
Yeah, it would. They'll have to deal with those silly liquor laws that won't allow it to be in the same place, but that's a different story. Yeah. Now, where can you not smoke or vape cannabis?
Anywhere that you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes.
That's right. That which includes indoor common areas and condos, apartment buildings, university, enclosed public places, and enclosed workplaces, non-designated guest rooms and hotels, schools, school grounds. Yeah. And it says here, and all public areas within 20 meters of, those areas, the playgrounds as well. Yeah. So that goes back to that park thing we were talking about earlier.
That's right. Now, and the one big question mark for your area and wherever you particularly live in Ontario is that you have to consider your municipality can also add on more bylaws.
Correct.
So, I mean, just because this is the provincial rule, this is what applies to provincial land, and your city can adopt the provincial laws, and your township can adopt the provincial laws, but they can also alter them by adding on these, some extreme bylaws. And we are seeing that taking place in some municipalities in Ontario already. Places like Richmond Hill have already stated, nope, they want nothing to do with it, and they plan on enacting all kinds of bylaws. Well, you know what? It's election time in Ontario for municipalities across the board. We're electing mayors, we're electing councils, and it's up to the people to stand up and vote in the people that want things done the way you want them done.
Exactly.
If you don't vote and you don't bring this up at your council debates, you can't complain later with what you get.
All right. Now, other outdoor areas that you cannot consume cannabis in restaurants, bar patios. Those outdoor patios, you can't consume cannabis. So you'll see people, what they'll do, because you can consume cannabis on the sidewalk.
Right.
You'll see people step over the little fence there.
Yes,
Or they'll go out the gate. They'll go out the gate and they'll smoke their cannabis
and
on the sidewalk.
Sit down.
Sit right at the rail, right beside their friends at the table. And do the same thing.
Yeah, so I can see that eventually going the way of the dodo bird.
Now, on outdoor grounds of specified Ontario government office buildings, would that include Queen's Park?
I don't know. It says specified, so
correct.
I think we would have to look further into what kind of specified.
Yeah, exactly. Because could this mean the home of the GMM in Toronto?
Yeah, we'll have to be looking into that.
That's right.
Even if it does, I don't think it'll make a difference.
Yeah. No, neither do I. Let's do one more story and then we'll take a break.
All right, sounds good. What are we on?
We're heading to Newfoundland.
Okay, Newfoundland.
Where they are worried about the full supply of cannabis come October the 17th.
Yeah. Less inventory. Not sure how much the demand will be when it begins selling on Wednesday, but she does know they won't have much to sell.
That's right. They have been informed. The licensed producers have told us that they won't be able to provide us with the amount of product that we have ordered, according to Beverly Ware, the spokesman for the NSLC.
So they will be selling dried flowers, pre-rolled joints, gel caps, and oils and seeds, but not edibles because they're not legal yet. But how much is going to be available on opening day is a big question mark.
Yeah, big time. And they expect to have lineups perform at the locations, across the province. Yeah, but yet they're already concerned about their supply.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of the provinces that dove headfirst into legalization. I mean, they are ready. They had stores built. They had advertising campaigns on how their stores were going to operate. Staff is hired. High tech is in there. Everything is done. Design people were hired. All of this is done. They're ready. And now they've got no stock.
Yeah, or very limited stock is what they're going to have. They say here that she goes on to say that we have our customers, we have told our customers to expect the lineups. This is why we have said a whole new industry that's opening, and we don't know what to expect of the demand. We do know that it's going to be a lot longer for customers to make the purchases with cannabis than it is for alcohol.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why? Why is it going to take longer?
Why is it going to take longer? It should be a regular transaction like any other retail transaction. It shouldn't take any longer than anything else.
You asked for ID for cannabis. You asked for ID for alcohol.
I'm 19. This shows I'm over 19. We're good. Give me my bag.
That's right.
I'm out. It shouldn't take any longer. My big question is, in business sense, all around, just from knowing business people, when you sign contracts to supply product to a company, and you sign contracts for that supply, and you fail to deliver on that supply, that's called negotiating in bad faith, isn't it?
It is in my books.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah.
See what happens. Well, let's talk more about the supply issue after break.
Sounds good. We've got more coming up on supply. That's for sure.
Yeah, okay, well, as mentioned, break time to medicate. And as we do that, our listeners will hear a bit of a Fox News report about Jeff Sessions. Is he finally seeing the light on cannabis? And you'll know when we're coming back when you hear about the homegrown stuff. You're listening to the Reefer Reporters. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong.
And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time.
420 radio?
Ooh.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
As much as I can't stand our Attorney General, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, he is kind of starting to see the light on weed. Yesterday, he admitted, quote, there may well be some medical benefits from medicinal marijuana, but he still doesn't think it will help the opioid epidemic. Is he willfully blind? Joining me now from Fox News Medical A-Team, Dr. Mark Siegel, also a professor at NYU Langone. Nice to see you.
Great to see you, Kennedy.
So let's talk about this a little bit, because now there has been critical mass reached in a new Quinnipiac poll, the highest number of respondents ever. 63% say they approve of marijuana being legal in various states. 93% approve of legal medical cannabis. And there are two other studies that you and I have talked about that show opioid overdose deaths decrease in states where there is medical cannabis, and also that there are far fewer prescriptions written for opioids where there are the most permissive medical marijuana laws.
And the Attorney General is dubious on that, but the studies over and over have shown that. In the 29 states which have medical marijuana laws, you've seen a decrease of over 25% in opioid-related overdose deaths. That's huge.
Yes.
And in Medicare and Medicaid data, over a decade, it's shown decreases of prescriptions among Medicaid users of about 6%, Medicare of about 9%.
Tune in to DJ Passion from the land of Ganja, the island of Jamaica, when he comes to you live every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on lifestyleradio.net. Listen in until midnight every weekend as he spins your favorite reggae tunes, including the classics, from Butterfly's Passion, Bed and Breakfast Above Discovery Bay. DJ Passion makes you feel like you are on the island. Head to the land of sun, fun, and Ganja weekly when you tune in Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to Reggae Saturday with DJ Passion, live here on lifestyleradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Canadays, your friendly neighborhood Campbellford head shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Let us help you grow your four with weekly Tuesday night gardening sessions for beginners. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Canadays, more than just a head shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Me, homegrown is the way it should be. Homegrown is a good thing. Blind that bell and let it ring.
We're back from a medication session. That means it's time for Northern Ontario Kim Cooper and myself to get back to the news. Well, Kim, we were talking about supply before the break.
Yeah, and we're going to pick it right back up on supply. A lot of people talking about supply these days because there just simply isn't enough. And Afria CEO is chiming in.
That's right. The CEO of one of Canada's largest licensed cannabis producers says his company... we love this reloading. Yeah.
Well, he has 10 supply agreements with 10 different provinces and the Yukon. In a September press release, the Leamington, Ontario-based producer said it had begun shipping initial orders to ensure an extensive range of products will be available to consumers on the 17th, but we're not sure how long that supply is going to last.
Yeah, that's right. Well, his comments indicate that at least the next few months, in part due to startup type obstacles, there's going to be problems. Yeah.
Startup type obstacles, eh? We've been talking about this for 4 years. So I'm not real convinced about all of these problems that everybody says is because of the timing.
Yeah. Well, it says here they will struggle to meet the total amount of product requested by the provinces.
Yeah. They're not, but they kept signing contracts to give the provinces the product that they wanted. They knew in advance of signing those contracts how much product the provinces were asking for. So once again, I come back to it. Is this negotiating in good faith? How are these companies getting away with signing contracts saying they can supply something they know they cannot supply?
Yeah, exactly. Are they bargaining in bad faith?
Yeah, I mean, in any other business sector, this would be unheard of.
Yeah, it would be, but we'll find out. Like, they've known, this has been going on for a while now. But to produce cannabis isn't like making beer, where you add a bunch of ingredients and all of a sudden you got a slosh.
That's right. That's right.
You got to wait for this to grow. You got to grow.
Exactly. I mean, Health Canada, come on, let's face it. They have been slow on the rebound on getting these larger grow operations and even the craft growers that are now entering the market. They are too slow on the draw for getting these people licensed and getting their expansion licenses authorized and everything else.
Well,
they simply aren't putting enough manpower into it.
Well, the numbers have increased. There are a lot more, but even they can approve somebody 4 months ago, doesn't mean they're going to have a supply.
That's right. That's right.
So,
they needed to get on a lot sooner than they did.
Yeah, well, CD Howe Institute, they forecast that the current production levels of all the licensed producer combined will meet only 30 to 60% of total demand.
30 to 60%. 30 to 60%.
That could be like 70%. It could be as short as 70% of the amount of cannabis they would need to have in the stores. There's no way that the black market's not going anywhere.
No, the black market is not going anywhere with these kind of numbers. The government's just not ready. They say they're ready. They're not ready.
No, they're not. Well, Newfield also goes on to say, he says that he's heard from some licensed producers that they have had capacity of harvest issues. And they are frantically looking to buy from other licensed producers who don't have supply agreements with other provinces.
Okay, you didn't make a deal yet. You sell it to me because I did and I don't have enough.
And don't forget,
big business, that works.
That's right. In addition to ensuring that the recreational market is sufficiently served, licensed producers will also have to continue to meet demand from the medical market.
Yeah. Let's not forget about us people, the ones that got it all started in the first place. Glad to see that the government is expanding rules for medical patients, but is that a blanket for Band-Aid for our big gushing wound that is going to be a lack of supply for the medical field?
Yeah, exactly. Is there going to be enough? Like I'm just checking here now. They say that in June there was 66,000 kilos of cannabis in licensed producers' inventories.
Yeah. But everybody that I know that is a patient that uses the LP system is recording shortages on LP websites in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'm seeing posts about it too. Yeah.
Yeah. hoarding the meds for the rec market to open up. We already know they're not allowed to import cannabis for the rec market, but they are for patients. So, of course, their entire crop is going to go to the rec market when they can give patients whatever they can bring in.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about Afria and shortages.
Yeah. I wonder why they have all these shortages, Al. Could there be any other reasons besides, lack of licensing?
I don't know. Well, apparently that they had to destroy 13,642 plants after a lack of qualified local labor.
They weren't able to harvest the plants if they would have come to fruition, they say, because they don't have the workforce in the area to do so. So instead of allowing them to grow, they destroyed them. And in the previous article, they were complaining they didn't have enough.
Wow. Geez, if we're shutting down 13,000 plants.
You destroyed 13,000 plants and then said, hey, guys, we don't have enough pot.
What do they mean they didn't have enough people?
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know. It doesn't specify the particular jobs.
No,
I'll say that. Okay.
Doesn't. And I know people that live in the area.
But we do know they're greenhouse jobs.
Yeah, they're greenhouse jobs. I know people that live in the area where this particular greenhouse is, and there's been no jobs posted on the local job boards for this plant.
Wow.
Where are they advertising the jobs?
Where are they advertising the jobs? And then are they trying to say? Well, they're saying local labor, but there's always I'm seeing posts about temporary workers from foreign countries coming in and working at the licensed producers. So are they running out of that as well? That they got to destroy 13,000 plants?
Yeah, I mean, come on. The amount of people that are willing to work in the cannabis sector is amazing. Yes, there are a lot of anti-LPers out there and say, no, I'll never work for them. But there are a lot of young people out there that would bite at the bit to work in the cannabis industry. What? I can pick pot for a living? Yeah, I'm in. I know dozens of young people in their 20s that would take jobs like that in a heartbeat. So I don't understand the lack of supply. I really don't.
I know of a local girl, her to me, that's what she's gone. She's gone and move closer to one so she could get a job at one.
Yeah. I mean, people are biting at the bit to get in on the cannabis industry that don't have an aversion to LP. They see a grander picture of legalization in cannabis, and they want to get in on that. So I don't think the lack of qualified workforce is anywhere near what they say it is, especially if the local people have not been able to find any ads for jobs at this particular place. Yet their excuse is, lack of workforce is a reason to destroy almost 14,000 plants.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
It doesn't make sense
at all.
Who knows? Maybe there's more to the story we're just not finding out.
Yeah, I think they need a better cover story or something there.
Yeah. All right, let's head off to college.
Yeah, college is in the news a lot with various colleges making different policies, but a big handful are jumping on the same kind of a bandwagon, they say.
Exactly. And our example here is Algonquin College. They've banned cannabis use. Yeah. And the other colleges are doing it too.
Yeah, all cannabis use will be illegal. Even
like your cigarette, though.
You can have a cigarette. They're still allowing cigarette smoking, but they will not allow cannabis smoking on property.
Yeah, I gotta say here though, at Algonquin they do have no tobacco on campus either as well.
Oh, no tobacco at Algonquin either. Oh, good to know. So that's one way. I think that's the only way that these colleges or anybody else can get away with this is saying no to all smoking. But in doing that, I think they're going to wind up with a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think so too. I can see that because, as our friend Ted Smith, You know, he had his Hempology 101 going on at the schools out there in BC.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, no smoking at all anywhere.
Yeah. Let's see. In September, a report that came out in September, the Canadian Cancer Society, only 4 other post-secondary institutions have smoke-free campuses. That's McMaster, George Brown, Redeemer, yeah, and Western University.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
a handful of 4 of them, 5 of them altogether, including Algonquin, that's not gone this way. So just under a half a dozen schools throughout the province are going.
Carleton University, Ottawa University. They have said marijuana use will be prohibited on their campuses, but they still allow tobacco.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not going to work either.
No.
You can't disallow something that's legally consumed anywhere else. It just doesn't work that way. It's like putting a gate up in the middle of the yard without a fence.
Yeah. Well, they say this is just a temporary thing in Algonquin. They want to do some consultations, but the other ones obviously have gone ahead and done it. So they say this is a soft launch, and that they will spend time talking to our students, to their students and to their employees about how they want to go about this going forward.
Yeah.
So at least at Algonquin, they seem to be open to change, but the other ones that we mentioned aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still reviewing things. I guess they're going to get some input from their student body and their student council, as well as their faculty, and revisit it in January.
Yeah. You know, what's going to happen at the University of Toronto?
Yeah. We're unsure at this point what many of these universities are going to do, but they all are giving a date of January 1st, 2019 of having permanent policies in place for all of them.
Yeah, well, they'll have to. If they haven't got a policy, who knows? Maybe they'll just make it just nice and simple. Follow tobacco.
Yeah, well, I don't see why they wouldn't follow the same rule as the province.
Yeah. You know, are they worried that students are coming back to class
this is adult courses, okay?
Correct.
We're talking about grown adults here in universities and colleges that pay fees to get educated.
Like go out and have a couple beers at lunch. Yeah, in between classes.
Do that right in the college, at the university pub. That is right inside the school. You can have a beer in between classes. So, I mean, how can you ban another substance that is 100% as legal as that substance in a place where people are making up their own mind on their futures and paying for an education? I don't see this flying at all.
Yeah. And you know, it's happening all the time. There's more and more stuff. I'm getting messages now telling me that there's a policy been announced in Nova Scotia for residents at a complex there. So, yeah, we'll have to look into that for next week's show, see what's going on at that college.
It'll be an evolving situation at many of these places, both living places and non-accommodation places like colleges and universities. Mm-hmm. Everybody's tripping over their tongues and their feet trying to make policy. Most of them are doing so without even knowing what they're doing. So it will evolve for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about involving, over there in Nelson, BC, Council has made a decision on what to do with their existing dispensaries that have licenses that are legal in that area.
Yeah, Nelson is at the top of their game. They are voted to keep the current dispensaries that are licensed by the town.
Yeah, they're going to let them run to their expiry date, which is at the end of the year.
Yeah, so you can keep going. October 17th will not change anything for the folks of Nelson, BC. If you're currently using one of these dispensaries to purchase your cannabis, you can continue doing so until at least December the 31st. And that time they're saying that they will not be renewing business licenses after that. But, I mean, we've seen things change when city council changes and elections are happening everywhere.
That's
so
right.
We'll have to keep an eye on this.
Well, yeah, because this council voted against the city management recommendation.
Yeah.
They wanted to cancel those licenses right away. And
they wanted everybody out October 17th. You're done.
Yeah.
And Nelson said, no. We gave them a license till the end of the year. They can keep it till the end of the year.
That's right. So places such as the Green Room Society, the Leaf Cross Health Society, King Canna Medicinals, and the Kootenays Medicine Tree, as well as the Nelson Potorium, will remain open until December the 31st. Yeah.
And who knows after that. So great to see that coming out of Nelson, BC. The cannabis industry there is good for the people, and the people spoke with their votes and their feet and their voices and let the council know, no, don't take this away because we don't know what the feds are going to do.
Yeah, exactly. They were impressed by some of the speakers that were there from some of the stuff that was said. One of them was Jim Leslie of the Kootenay Medicine Tree. He asked that council allow his business to continue past the October 17th date because people will not be able to access in any lawful manner the products they have to come to rely on, which is big time, which is what everybody's been saying.
Yeah, this is what we've been saying across the country. Police forces are making this big push to close down dispensaries before legalization happens, and they say the fines are going to be astronomical after legalization.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is most of these dispensaries, the people that go to them, yes, there is a good portion that are recreational, but I think the greater portion are medicinal users because the dispensaries supply us with products that we don't have to make ourselves, pre-made in a medicinal format that we can ingest for our illnesses. Stuff like tinctures, Rick Simpson oil, whole plant remedy, edibles, suppositories, lotions and creams. I mean, none of this stuff is available through a legally licensed government retail outlet.
We're seeing that all across the country where dispensaries are having to make a decision whether they're going to remain open or hopefully maybe try to get a provincial license, if available in their province, in order to stay open. We saw that this morning on a post by our friend Amy Brown with Can Do.
Yeah.
It breaks her heart, but she has to make a decision,
Yeah, I mean, and the fines in continuing to stay open, the choice to do that, the fines are astronomical that they're imposing. They far outweigh the crime, that's for sure. But who the hell can afford to take that on as a challenge? And I think that's why they made it that amount, so that nobody would take it on as a challenge because you can't afford to. They've put patients in a really bad spot where basically that's the population that you're hurting. You're hurting the patient population that's become to rely on this medication.
Yeah, it would have been nice if there could have been some, like this 6-month window, for example, here in Ontario, to allow some type of leeway there. But even still, after April 1st, there still is no edibles for patients.
We have to wait for the feds to catch up to where we have already been for 10 years. I mean, this has been an evolving medicine in the patient-based industry for decades now. And we've come a long way with it. And we're already using this stuff. Why should we have to put our treatment regimes on hold so the government can catch up?
Yeah, I know. We have to wait a year before there's even any regulations on the edibles. And will that include things like suppositories? Because they're not edibles.
No.
Who eats suppositories? I don't know. Yeah. Well, let's get to our last news report before we go to a break.
Yeah, this one is near and dear to my heart, actually. We're going to come all the way up here to Northern Ontario in Timmins. And there's a story in the TimminsToday.com newspaper publication that we have out here. And I'm tickled pink to see this happening here. It's a story on where our town council and police services board stands with legalization. And they answer several questions that the THC, the Timmins hemp community, actually brought to the forefront of discussions at our recent debates.
Oh, nice. Good to see that.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to see every question we asked is addressed in this news story, and those are the only questions that are addressed in this news story. So kind
Really?
of nice to see that we were being listened to.
Good. That's
Yeah.
it's always good to see that.
So quick overview,
do
real
that.
quick, what we're going to do here in Timmins. Timmins' current mayor, Steve Black, says that Ontario has made the guidelines under Smoke-Free Ontario Act. So that says cannabis can be consumed anywhere cigarettes can be consumed. He has no desire to interfere with that act, and that's the way things will stand in Timmins. There will be no extra regulatory fees for anybody who wants to open up a cannabis-related business. It will not be a separate guideline under the issuing of permits. It will be under the same as any other retail space that wants to operate in the area without extra fees. So that is awesome. They are opening up to not opting out. They plan on allowing cannabis retail locations operate in the region and in the city of Timmins if they choose to open one here. So all of these things are fantastic. The police force will not be using the Draeger 5000 machine. They do not believe in the science that it's based on, and they have 28 officers currently designated to identify people that are impaired driving by roadside attesting. So that's what they will continue to do.
Now, what about the officers when it comes to the consumption of cannabis?
That is still being worked out. They are negotiating details on that and have not released a statement on where they stand on their officers consuming cannabis. But they say that they will have that statement by the end of the month.
They will, eh? Good.
Yeah.
Good. It's good because we're seeing different things across the country, where some are banned right out. Some have to wait 28 days before after. So they smoke a joint, they got to wait 28 days before they consider them not impaired.
Yeah, that's still being discussed within the Police Services Board. They're unsure of what direction they're going to go, but they will let us know in the future. Mayor Black, current Mayor Black, said that the people that currently enforce the smoking bylaw, which is the Porcupine Health Unit bylaw officers, will be the ones to enforce the cannabis law. Our Police Services Board Chair, Mr. Gauthier, has been quoted in saying, "We are not the tobacco police. This will be legally legalized and you can consume it on the street. You are not breaking the law."
Bingo. Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
great to see Timmins are answering our questions.
Yes, it is. It's good to see that, grassroots advocacy.
Grassroots advocacy all the way.
That's right. Okay, well, it's time for us to get some more medication into us.
Absolutely.
Okay, and as we do that, our listeners will hear more of the session, Seeing the Light on cannabis, some of the light anyways. And, when we're coming back, we hear more about that homegrown cannabis. You're listening to the Reefer Reporters. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
So clearly, medical marijuana decreases on opioid prescriptions. Why wouldn't it? It's been shown to decrease the pain. It's clearly that's where he's suddenly starting to see the light. He sees what we've known for a while now, which is medical marijuana decreases pain.
And we have to make the distinction between medical marijuana and recreational. Now, whatever someone puts in their body, I don't care. If they don't hurt me and they don't take my stuff, I really don't care. I think the war on drugs has failed. I think it's deadly and costly and stupid. And the supply side combat has done nothing to help inner cities and rural communities that are being decimated by opioid addiction.
Not only that, I'm going to get a little controversial here and tell you that Attorney General Sessions is wrong about something else, which is prosecuting people for opioids has not led to a decrease in the epidemic either. Because you know what people do when they're in jail? They buy and sell opioids. Yeah. So our prisons are not geared up for rehab. So the bill that's out there now, the Opioid Crisis Response Act.
And that's the one that passed the Senate Health Committee today.
Right, and the House is looking at their version. It's not passed the whole Senate yet.
Yeah.
It actually is doing some things I like. It needs more money. It definitely needs more money. But what it is doing that I like is it has the NIH researching alternatives. It has doctors being able to look into histories of people that have opioids. And most importantly, medically assisted therapy with Suboxone and other drugs to get people off.
And that's what they have to do is look at less addictive resources. Thank you so much, Dr. Siegel.
Agree on medical marijuana. We agree on legalization.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing? Not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as their daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reefer reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with cannabis and coffee with Marijuana. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashishin. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gagnac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca. Hi, this is Al Graham of the Pace Radio Show. Are you keeping pace, as in keeping people advocating cannabis education? If you're not, and you're a cannabis consumer, then why not? Others are working hard every day to help educate people about cannabis so you can enjoy your daily 420. Get involved and speak out. Be loud and proud so that you can keep pace. Tune into the Pace Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear about people advocating cannabis education here on lifestyleradio.ca.
Sun comes up in the morning, shines that light around. One day, without no warning, things start jumping up from the ground. Well, homegrown's alright with me. Homegrown is the way it should be. Homegrown is a good thing. Clap that bell and let it ring.
Hey, we're back from our medication session. Kim and I still have lots of news to cover, so let's get right back at her, Kim.
Absolutely, and we left talking about Timmins Police, and we're going to travel down to Toronto and talk about what they're doing in Toronto Police Force.
Yeah, they've got one of those crazy bands down there, and their police association is upset about that.
They most certainly are. They are going to battle the police services, is coming to the aid of the police officers, saying, no. You cannot do this to our nearly 8,000 members.
That's right. The new policy prohibiting Toronto police from using cannabis within 28 days of reporting for active duty is ill-contrived, arbitrary, and largely unenforceable, says the city's biggest police union.
Yeah, that the statement was delivered on Thursday afternoon from the TPA slammed the new policy on marijuana that was crafted ahead of legalization taking place this Wednesday. Police members will not be allowed to consume cannabis 28 days prior to duty once legalization comes into effect.
That's right. Well, in its statement, the TPA said it does not support this draft policy. The police service's logic would suggest that the 28-day waiting period apply to other occupations, including all first responders, emergency and medical staff, and anyone driving any type of motor vehicle operating. It also does not address the issue about exposure to secondhand cannabis smoke, according to the president.
I'm sorry. I chuckle because these are all issues that people have been bringing up in workplaces around the globe for so long, or patients, and nobody has given us a second thought. And now the Police Services Board is screaming and crying about all these things that we've been screaming and crying about, and they're the ones that have been looking at us saying, no, that's the law.
That's the law. The TPA statement also notes that there is no correlation between cannabis use and impairment for such a long period of time. Of course there isn't. Not for 28 days, not for 10 days, not even 5 days.
Not one day. Isn't this what we've been saying? I mean, and now here's the Police Services Board. They're singing our song, Al.
That's right. That's right. And it's happening all across the country. Different. It's not. This isn't just in Toronto or Timmins. It's happening all across the country. And it's a conversation that has to be had. And I can understand if somebody is obviously on duty, they're on work, or if the person is on call.
Yeah.
There's a chance that they're going to be required to go to work.
You don't consume, but you think that these people are professionals, okay?
Yeah.
Anybody that is a professional person and gives two shits about their job, they're not consuming anything that leaves them intoxicated prior to going to work. You have the common sense not to drink. You have the common sense not to do any other intoxicant that is going to get you in that place before you go to work. So it's going to be the same for cannabis. Yeah. It's not new. It's not going to be different at all. You trust that these people aren't going to drink. Trust they aren't going to smoke. And if you can't trust that, then maybe they aren't in the right job.
Yeah, because it'd be ridiculous for a police officer to take his family away camping on the long weekend of July, sit around the fire, have a couple doobies, and then he's got to wait until the 1st of August before he could actually return back to duty? Is he supposed to take his 4 weeks? Who gets 4 weeks of holidays in the first year on the service?
Nice long weekend vacation with the family, like you said. Oh, instead of having a couple of beers, I'm going to enjoy a couple of legal cannabis joints here, right? Okay, good enough. No. Well, guess what? That family vacation for the weekend, you can't go to work for 30 days.
Yeah.
What the
exactly. Well, they say that Calgary and Edmonton, they said that they have prohibited their officers from using cannabis altogether.
Yeah, zero tolerance policy.
They're not even getting a 28-day window.
Yeah, and I mean, we can see with prohibition how well zero tolerance policies work.
Yeah. Well, maybe they have to come here to Ontario and stop by, see our friend Tim.
Yeah. Come by
on their trip.
during your stay. Stop by here and have a look around. Some of these policies are just outrageous. I am glad to see the Police Services Board is standing up for their officers. Yeah. In all fairness, they are people too, and they are just like you and I, many of them. That's just their job. I find it hilarious. I find it ironic that they're singing our song today with legalization on the horizon. But I'm glad to see that they at least have somebody standing up for them for what is right.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Well, talking about a fight, our next story.
Yeah, Tim Barnhart has made the news once again. A friend of the show, a friend of yours and mine personally, Al. Correct. Great guy. Absolutely somebody for the people to come and talk to and get an education. This man has grown the industry on native land by leaps and bounds over the course of the last 4 short years. As
the article's headline says, profound transformation.
Profound, to say the least. Profound. Tim Barnhart, of course, with annual sales of more than $20 million at Legacy 420. It's a cannabis superstore on Tyendinaga, Mohawk Territory, just outside Belleville in eastern Ontario.
Payroll?
He has $3.7 million payroll.
This is at a dispensary.
Dispensary in Ontario.
That's right.
Yeah, $3.7 million payroll. He has no difficulty meeting the payroll and the demand and everything else that is coming through Legacy 420, along with the educational aspects that he offers. There's many things to be had at Legacy 420 on an educational front. But he has quite a bit of a different struggle, and that's finding local Indigenous workers to work the myriad of jobs that are now there. He was trying to hire almost native-only people, trying to allow the land to prosper, but he's gotten so big, he's got to go elsewhere to hire.
The business is growing. He's got testing. He's looking for guards because there's guards transporting the stuff, processing, bottling, baking.
Yeah, I mean they are doing so much construction. They figured out that buying gravel and sand was too expensive, and it was cheaper to buy a pit. So now they have a gravel pit.
Yeah, because he's building roads.
So there's another new industry. That's an offshoot of Legacy 420. I mean, all of these businesses are offshoot businesses that have happened with the growth of Legacy, and they've gotten so big, they're looking for a myriad of workers to flood to the area to fill the positions.
Now, Tim's business is, as you say, over $20 million in sales. Let's not forget, as this place is located out near Belleville. Yeah. There's 30 to 50 stores in there at any time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of 50 shops in a small radius.
Now, and they could be anything from a trailer to Tim's. They call it a purpose-built emporium because it is. It's built to meet LP requirements. This is not a 45-foot trailer.
Oh no!
That hook onto a truck that can be just dragged away.
No. I mean, the construction that went into this building, I mean, it's up there with Fort Knox. It surpasses Health Canada's guidelines. It surpasses the government guidelines for safety, for security, all of that. They've gone beyond the guidelines for what the quality of the plants coming in, testing that has to be done. They surpass what the LPs are doing. LPs put their product out on the market, have it tested, and if something comes back wrong, they do a recall. What goes on at Legacy 420 is it's tested before it hits the shelf. So there is no recall because if it isn't coming back good on the test, it doesn't make it to the shelf. So they're surpassing what they're doing with the LP system.
Yeah, he's got licensed technicians in there. They came out of Belleville College, Loyal's College there. They're licensed technicians. Plus, he's got Dr. Paul Hornby there right now.
Yep. One of the greatest minds that knows about the cannabis plant more than just about anybody on the planet, I think.
Yeah, and it's created not only Tim's business, but all those businesses down there have created such an economic benefit to the community. Their houses are getting finished, they're getting sided, grass is proper grass is being laid on properties. Yeah. People are driving respectable vehicles. This is some of the stuff that Jamie Condell of the Smoke Signals, he's one of the places down there. These are the things that people are seeing.
Yeah, I mean, the landscape is changing. Nicer homes, nicer lawns and gardens, people with a sense of purpose walking with pride down the street. They're able to live and afford the nicer things in life that everybody else has become accustomed to just with our general lives that these people have been denied because of a lack of industry. And cannabis has created that industry, and not just through cannabis, but through offshoot businesses. Just allowing cannabis dispensaries to thrive there has created a host of businesses that now are flourishing in the area.
Well, Tim is involved with the National Indigenous Medical Cannabis Association, and him, like others, saying that this is a native right.
Yeah, it's inherent right. It goes back to before the days of Champlain, noticing it growing on the banks of the Lake Ontario by the Indigenous people. It's known to be an Indigenous crop, and they have inherent right to grow Indigenous crops. So they aren't governed by the same laws that everybody else is governed. They fall under different law and different category, and they should take advantage of that because it could be a great prosperous opportunity for people on native land.
Now, some people would say, well, if you think this is an inherent right, why would you build a building that complies with something that you're sort of against. You're against the LPs, but you built something that competes with them or just as big as them. And he says that we built it so that we'd be able to withstand every legal challenge. He says, adding that Legacy 420 was designed to be something that the government couldn't knock down.
That's right. That's right. They can't come after them and saying, well, we would have let you if you would have done it right.
Yeah, it's designed to make...
You can't give them that opportunity. And that's what Tim's mindset was from the beginning. I'm going to make this bigger and better than you make everybody else's. So that way you cannot come after me and tell me I can't do it.
Yeah. Tim says our whole lives, the government's been coming in and building everything for us and telling us what our nations need. We built this to prevent the government from doing that.
That's right. That's right. And they've done a fantastic job with it. The entire area is prospering from it. New business, new industry happening everywhere. People have money to spend in the community. It's putting new tax dollars into the community. Everybody's happier. You've got a happy community. You've got a prosperous community.
Correct. Exactly. And as the last line of the article says, by the grace of a plant, prosperity and sovereignty now march hand in hand in Tenaganaga.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. Hats off to Tim Barnhart. Happy, just thrilled to death to have partnered with him in this past year. He's been a major sponsor of NOSER and Timmins community events. He's been a major sponsor of everything we've done in the past year. We couldn't have done it without him. I mean, he's reaching out to not only Tyendinaga, but beyond, all the way up here to Timmins. The word is getting out, and the man knows what he's doing, and I wish him all the best.
Yeah, he helps Pace, just so you know. He helps Pace with the Grassroots Advocate magazine that we produce. And we mail out, actually, Kim, yours would have gone in the mail today, but I come home sick, so it's still sitting on my counter.
All good.
So yeah, he's been a force to make sure that I get that thing out because he knows how important information and education is. So
absolutely, yeah, great things going on in Tyendinaga with Tim Barnhart, Legacy 420, as well as NIMCA, National Indigenous Medical Cannabis Association.
All right, let's head her out of the country. Let's head to Washington.
Yeah, we're going to move on down to the U.S. states. Some of the stuff that's been going on with legalization in various states down there. Washington is now moving ahead, but they're going backwards on some stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Producers of edible cannabis products for sale in Washington state are reeling after the Liquor and Cannabis Board handed down an unexpected decision. They are going to ban infused candies and gummies.
Yeah.
What?
No more gummies or candies. They say that they're especially appealing to children, and they don't want to have kids being drawn to a cannabis-related product.
Let me reach over to my fridge here. I got some gummies right here in my fridge. You can hear me getting out the bag. Do squares look appealing to children?
I don't know. I mean, are they going to ban them because they look like gummies, or are they going to ban them because they're candy?
I don't know. Then they have to ban other men. Well, this is, obviously it's just the Liquor and Cannabis Board. It's not the state itself, but
yeah.
Like,
are they still going to allow?
What about edibles, brownies? They're enticing to children, aren't they? Cookies with nice big chocolate chips on them. Are they not enticing to children?
Yeah. But I mean, I have no idea. Okay, so during the regular board meeting, the LACB told cannabis companies all production of hard candy, tarts, fruit chews, colorful chocolates, jellies, and any gummy type product should cease immediately, because they will no longer be allowed for sale under the new regulations effective January 1st, 2019.
Okay, well, a shortbread cookie is not a colorful chocolate.
No, it's not.
Okay, I know I used the colorful chocolate. Colorful chocolate is a chocolate cookie, a colorful chocolate?
Yeah, well, it says under the new rules, infused products like chocolates, baked goods, caramels, and mints would still be legal for sale as long as they meet certain limitations, including that they are not sprayed with colors or molded into any form besides bars or balls. And
So
but they can't contain any sprinkles or frosting.
Let's have gummy bars. Let's have gummy balls.
Yeah. So I guess they would be allowed. I don't know.
I don't. Well, there's still. this is why I think it's silly to ban the gummy bear, because it's just the name gummy bear. You can have gummy balls.
I know. I mean, we're getting carried away here.
I think they are.
Getting carried away here. You can't have adults don't enjoy sprinkles and adults don't enjoy frosting. Is this what you're telling me?
And part of the concern here, okay, is Canada is a year away from legalizing edibles.
Right.
They go to the U.S. to get ideas.
Yes.
They go to Washington State. We know that.
Yes.
They got the five.
Got a lot of cross-border stuff going on in Washington.
Is Canada going to ban gummy bears next year?
Mm-hmm. Good question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's continue with the article.
Continue with the article. Edible marijuana products, they say, make about 9% of the overall cannabis market in Washington, according to the report. So they think estimates on the market, edible market, will grow at a compounded annual rate more than 25% by 2022. So why would they put the kibosh on the edible market then? I don't understand the logic.
I don't know. They say the change is necessary. Let's read it. We'll find out. The change is necessary to address concerns that previously approved gummies and candies would meet the definition of especially appealing to children. So we make gummy bars.
Yeah.
Make gummy bears.
Yeah, like
not bears, bars and balls.
Why does the substance gummy scare so many people?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Doesn't make sense. And our next story makes that connection to Washington and Canada.
It does, because as you said during that conversation there, Al, Canada. We look to Washington a lot, to see what to expect on the horizon. Well, apparently our heads of government had a discussion about just that.
That's right. Recently, the Premier of BC met with the governor for bilateral meetings to talk about cross-border issues. And, of course,
cannabis.
Cannabis is going to come up.
Yeah. Cannabis was addressed at the meeting. Given that obviously Washington has legalized in 2012. So they've got some experience with legalization that we can look to. And the governor there, he said that he doesn't think that the Canadian public fears will be realized.
No, that's right. He says that we have not seen crimes associated with it. We've not had adverse health effects. There's not a significant increase in youth usage.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, I mean, that's the stats. That's the stats right there in a nutshell. It's not happening. The sky did not fall in. The sun did come up the next day. There will be a morning on Thursday, and life will go on.
That's right. Well, now, as far as the driving end of things, because that's a big concern we're all hearing about now, too, right?
Yeah.
He says that there needs to be more research on impaired driving. We have not seen any specific increase in usage that's tied to increased traffic accidents. However, they have seen increased usage in general of people who've had some chemical in their blood, specifically alcohol, barbiturates, amphetamines, and heroin.
Yeah, but not cannabis. You know, so I mean, and even if cannabis shows up in the blood, we know it can stay in our bodies for days and weeks and even months if you're a large person and you are a heavy consumer. So that doesn't mean anything. The body stores cannabinoids and uses them in our functions daily. That's why it stays in our body. And alcohol is shed within hours because our body's getting rid of it. So that's the science that tells us that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that he backs the science and says, you know, we need more scientific data on this before we can judge.
He says, from a health and safety perspective, legalization has been a success.
Yeah.
Now, they also talked about the cross-border as far as travelers going back and forth, because Washington and BC, right? Isn't it the only thing that's dividing them is an imaginary line?
That's right. And both will be legal.
And both will be legal on both sides of the country or of that line. But yet,
that's right. But yet you've got the feds controlling the border.
Yeah. Which won't allow you to go through that gate.
Yeah. The good old feds.
Oh.
Yeah, we got to bear in mind, you know, things don't work the same down there as they do up here. Just because legalization is happening in Washington doesn't mean it's happening in the United States. And that's the big difference for Canada. We're the first country to do it nationally.
Yeah.
You know, where the states are splintered.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It is splintered. It's a run. Eventually, I don't know, there's been reports that maybe Donald will change something down there. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Okay, Kim, let's get to our last story. I see we're running a little long here. So.
Yeah, we're running a little long. So let's get to this last one. We're going to talk a little bit about the UN.
That's right, because they have adopted a declaration that binds countries to respect and protect rural needs to aiming to insensitize rural policies that include cannabis in the development strategies.
Yeah.
UN. Wow.
This is going to give rural peoples the right to grow cannabis as a crop. If and they find that's. I find this interesting because to me, this would apply to Canada's Indigenous people and what we were talking about during the Tim Barnhart story there. Canadian Indigenous people claim inherent right. So this UN ruling goes exactly to that right.
Yeah, the Declaration of the Rights of Peasants and Other People Working in Rural Areas is intended to shift cannabis-related discussions out of the counter-narcotics approach and mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're saying that the declaration is particularly intended to guide policymakers and to develop countries with a rich history of cannabis cultivation. And they go on to name a few places like Mexico, South Africa, India, and Morocco, and have them rural producers have main cannabis cultivators that have suffered disproportionately from global cannabis prohibition. That to me speaks to Canada's
yeah, I think so too.
Disproportionately been affected by prohibition, and they claim inherent right. So this UN policy, I think, effectively gives Canada's Indigenous people inherent right to grow cannabis without conflict from the government.
Yep. Exactly. I agree. Because it says right here, the right to cultivate cannabis plants in the areas where its cultivation is ancestral is recognized and protected by the different international texts protecting Indigenous peoples' traditions.
Yeah. Yeah. So it speaks to many key areas, you know. I mean, we can talk about a vast amount of places, you know, like Morocco and South Africa and India. But I think Canada needs to be on that list.
Yeah. We should make sure Tim gets a hold of this.
Yeah.
Point out those lines. Yeah. All right, Kim. That's our last story of the day.
It is. And it's been a busy week. I'm sure it'll continue to be a busy week with legalization on the forefront coming Wednesday. Next week's news is sure to be action-packed.
And weeks to come. There's going to be so much. It's going to be so much. We might have to go to a 2-hour show. I don't know. That's our Reefer Report for October the 15th. And in closing, we'd like to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please share with your coworkers, the person behind you in the grocery line, and those standing behind, those standing around you with the bonfire. Until the next time, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
Or catch you later.
So what are you doing? Nothing. Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.